and you're listening to Night Dreams Radio Network. By the way, check out our website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. That's www.nightdreamsradio.com. And while you're checking out the host and checking out the gallery on our website, there is a donation button. Hit that button, donate $1 or $2. That helps pay our server costs. And what do you get for that $1 or $2? You get like almost 400 hours of previous shows on Night Dreams Talk Radio for free. And now, our great host for tonight, Michael W. Hall.
Well, thank you, Gary. Gosh, thank you. This is going to be a wonderful show tonight, and I am so happy to be on Night Dreams Talk Radio right now, winding up our entire month of talking nothing but, pretty much, UFOs. And boy, have we got a show tonight scheduled for you. We've got a kind of a double-duty heavy hitter show tonight with Peter Davenport from the National UFO Reporting Center and my good friend Bill Puckett from UFOs Northwest. Talk about longtime ufologists and researchers. Both of these guys are going to go at it and have a lot of fun tonight. And we're going to talk about some UFO sightings. We're going to talk about some radar reports that go along with them, as well as we're going to try to get to some of the issues that Peter Davenport has written a white paper about called passive radar and how to detect UFOs through radio station towers around the United States. So let's get started here at the top of the hour and introduce to everyone Peter Davenport. First of all, are you there, Peter?
I'm here. I had my mute button on. I couldn't find it. But I am here, Michael, and I'm delighted to be making an appearance tonight. I'm really looking forward to hearing what Bill Puckett has to say. Bill and I have known one another for a long time, and I hold his work in extremely high regard, and I'm sure he's got a lot of interesting things to say.
Well, yes, we might as well bring Bill on right away so we can double duty this whole thing tonight with both of your expertise. Bill Puckett is a long-time NOAA meteorologist, let's put it that way. The National Oceanographic Administration, for the government, and also the Environmental Protection Agency as well. He's a radar expert. And Bill, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. It's great to be talking to my old Seattle friends, Peter Davenport and Michael Hall. I mean, we used to get together on a regular basis on Saturdays, and Peter would give us the lowdown on the recent cases for the week and play tapes and everything. I always look forward to that. And Michael, you used to come to my little get-togethers out there at the Crossroads Mall when I'd sit there with a laptop and a portable video player, so I do miss those days. However, it's good to be back in my home state of Montana and back to where I can see the seasons again and closer to family and everything. But I do miss both of you guys. I go a long time back, all the way back into the 90s, and we had some great times together. So I'm glad to hear you're both doing well, and it's good to hear your voices.
Well,
we
definitely
feel the same way, Bill.
Yeah, and it's it's kind of interesting. The field is not quite the same. Not having you around in this area here, Bill. Although we know you are ensconced back there in your home state of Montana. Where are you living out there in Montana?
I'm living in the capital city of Helena, Montana. I have a brother here. I went to college here back in the 1960s. I'm giving away my age, of course, and I'm from the northeast part of the state, but I left Montana in 1974, and I didn't return to 2011. Of course, I spent the bulk of my years in my career in the Seattle area from 1980 to 2007, and then moved down to the Pacific Beach there at Ocean Shores, and then moved back to Seattle again. And I guess about the time I left for Montana, I think Peter left for Eastern Washington. I don't remember when you went to Eastern Washington, but I know it was somewhere around the time I moved away here too. So Anyhow, I do enjoy it here. Possibly a little bit more out of touch, at least with the UFO community. We do have some UFO people here. The Jesse Marcel Library. I did have the opportunity to have lunch with Dr. Marcel a couple of years before he died, and had a really nice talk with him and found out more stuff about Roswell. Also, I was able to share some stuff with him that I'd learned about Roswell when I worked for the UFO Hunter series on the History Channel. So, it was good to see him again. And the gentleman at the Jesse Marcel Library was a long-term anesthesiologist that worked with Dr. Marcel. He was an ear, nose, and throat specialist, so that's why he got to know Dr. Marcel. But they're not quite as active as UFO groups in the Seattle area. But anyhow, there's advantages and disadvantages of moving. So, but I'm here to stay in hell, and I do like it here. So, good area to live.
Yeah, I'll bet you can commiserate there, Peter, having moved out of the Seattle area yourself out to the gorgeous areas in eastern Washington.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just listening and reveling in what Bill was saying about the rural areas of our country. It was probably the best decision I made to move out of Seattle. I moved in June of 2006, by the way, in response to your question, Bill. And I think you were shortly after that, weren't you?
Well, about 5 years out. Well, actually, you're correct, because I moved to Ocean Shores, Washington, in September of 2007. So I moved about the same time you did, except I made a lot of back and forth movements between Ocean Shores and Redmond, Washington after that. That's a long story. I won't get into that. Yeah. It was over trying to sell a house down there, but in Ocean Shores, which I was finally able to do. So, yeah, I guess I did move just about the same time, about a year later than you did, right? Yeah, you're right.
Well, Bill, if you are ever in the market for a abandoned Nike missile site out there in your neck of the woods, Peter and I have got some expertise in that regard. So,
yeah.
Well, you mentioned missile sites, and I worked some with Fran Ridge, who's an old NICAP person, and I got one of these MADAR units. I have mixed feelings about their effectiveness, but I do have one, and of course MADAR stands for Multiple Anomaly Detection Automated Recording. And what they do is they measure magnetic flux and variations in magnetic flux and variations in atmospheric pressure. And, of course, UFOs have long been known to cause a lot of magnetic anomalies, like shutting car engines off, causing power outages and that sort of thing. This thing is supposed to measure that. The only problem is that I wasn't getting any anomalies, and he wanted me to. He signed me up because I'm about 80, 90 miles from the closest Minuteman missile site here in Montana. He wanted some coverage around these missile sites. So I said, well, he asked me to rotate it 90 degrees, and I did, and it was shooting anomalies off alerts about every other day. And to me, so I moved it back 90 degrees, and now it's reading about what it should be. So I'm not quite sure why moving something perpendicular would cause it to generate those readings, because I know it's in a fairly quiet area of my house because I have a tri-field meter. But anyhow, he swears by it and claims that it works, but I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just a bit skeptical about how the units work. He continually updates them and upgrades them. So anyhow, I'm participating in that part of the project, and I know Peter is too, because I know you're recording MADAR hits and doing correlations, and as well as the Mutual UFO Network is. Anyhow, I got my teeth into that right now too.
Yeah, I share your thoughts on the MADAR unit. I don't understand the technology of it well enough to be able to comment intelligently, but you're correct. I'm using my database and my website in support of Fran's efforts and his group's efforts, along with you, including you, I should say. So if people would like to see what MADAR recordings are like, they can go to our website and just scan through the data and look for the term MADAR, M-A-D-A-R, and they'll see all the anomalous events that have been recorded by units around the world, really. It's not just the United States and Canada. They have units over in Europe that are detecting something. I don't know exactly what they are. That's the problem with the MADAR unit is, as you were describing earlier, Bill, getting false hits from other sources that are not UFO, obviously not UFOs. So, but people can see the hits that have been recorded by the units around the world on our website, ufocenter.com.
Well, Peter, is this MADAR system, is this similar at all to your passive radar project that you're coming up with?
Yeah, only vaguely similar in the sense that it records electromagnetic energy, that is radio waves or photons. But the system that I've proposed is substantially different. And what I proposed in 1995 was using detection equipment that listens for the reflected signal of a commercial or radio or television station. In other words, when they raise signals up into space, they go out in all directions off an antenna, of course. If there's something up there, a satellite or an airplane or a trash bag or a Canadian goose, it will reflect that signal back down to ground level. And what I've proposed is using such a system for detecting UFOs. Actually, it's not a new concept. During the Second World War, the English used the BBC radio broadcast signal as a radar source that reflected off both enemy and friendly aircraft. So they could direct the English aircraft to intercept incoming German fighters or bombers. But that is, in a nutshell, is the distinction between what MADAR does and what so-called passive radar does. And a lot of people have awakened to just how effective passive radar can be. The one advantage is that the target being detected by the passive radar is not aware that it's being detected. All it sees is that it's being struck by a commercial radio or television signal. That doesn't alert it to the fact that the reflected signal is being used to detect the location of the object. So that,
wow,
in a nutshell, is the difference, Michael.
Oh, that is quite amazing. What's your opinion of that, Bill? I know you know a little bit about Peter's proposals, but that sounds very interesting.
Yeah, well, Peter was discussing that even when I was in the Seattle area, and I think it's a really good concept. You know, the advantage of it is you don't need to have a broadcasting license to participate in it. Like, if you wanted to set up a radar site somewhere, you've got to get a permit, you know, because you're broadcasting. Whereas with passive radar, you don't have to do that, and it essentially works like radar. I mean, it's photons bouncing off an object, which is what radar does. But you don't need expensive technology, and also you don't need to have a FCC license to be able to use it. So, in principle, I think it's probably better than this MADAR